Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of Woodley Town Council on the 26th of September 2020. Woodley Town Council meetings are now recorded, streamed live and stored on the Town Council YouTube channel. By virtue of attending the meeting, you consent to having your image and audio recorded for this purpose. Do not wish for your image and audio to be recorded, then please do not stay for the meeting. Those in attendance will not be expecting fire drills tonight. So if you hear the fire alarm, please head out of the nearest fire exit and congregate at the fire assembly point by the open centre at the front of Woodford Park. Prior to the meetings of the full council, we hold the town forum, which is an opportunity for members of the public to pose any questions they may have to the council. This is limited to a maximum of 30 minutes. Do any members in the public wish themselves, Mr. Millard? No. So in the absence of any questions from members of the public, then we'll commence with the agenda. First item on the agenda is apologies.
Yes, we've received apologies from councillors Chadwick, Edwards, Nagra, Rowland, Smith and Stone. Councillor Rowland is attending virtually. Good smile.
Declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest?
No, we don't. I just want to ask a question. I think you reeled off 5 apologies. Where would those people have sat if they had come here?
We said, well, the apologies I get. So I got 5 apologies before the meeting. So we set the table up for the number of people who are coming. Councillor Nagra gave an apology right before the meeting. Hence that seat there for him.
That was all. So, okay.
If there were more councillors coming, we'd have more tables.
Declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest from councillors regarding any items on tonight's agenda? We will move on to the next item, which is item 3, which is to receive the minutes of the full council meeting held on the 27th of June 2023. The minutes are included in this agenda and can be seen on page 5. Are there any questions or comments regarding these? Assuming we are all happy with this, can we please move to a vote on accepting these minutes as a true and correct record? And all those in favour, please raise their hands.
18.
And all those against, please raise their hands. None. Those who wish to abstain, please raise their hands. The minutes have duly been approved as a true and correct record, and I will sign these after the meeting. So item 4 is to receive the minutes of the committee meetings which have taken place since our last full council meeting. Can I please ask Councillor Horskins, as Deputy Chair of the Planning and Community meeting, to present the minutes of the meeting which took place on the 25th of July.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, all councillors will have seen the minutes. I hope you've all read them and digested them. These committees are, these meetings are really interesting, and I do hope that councillors do actually step in and watch them on YouTube or come along and attend the meeting. Keith came to one of the meetings, this one I think was the one after. And you can actually, you can join in and say things at these meetings. So just because you're a councillor, don't think it precludes you from, just because you're not a member of the committee, don't think it precludes you from coming along and joining in. They're not fuddy-duddy. They're really quite interesting. Anyway, that was my bit, which I wanted to say first, because I forget on my third occasion of standing up. Please can this council note the minutes of this meeting of the Planning Community Committee held on Tuesday, the 25th of July. Thank you.
And do any councillors have any questions regarding these minutes? Assuming we are happy with these, then these minutes are noted. Can I please ask Councillor Baker, as chairman of the committee, to present the minutes of the extraordinary strategy and resources committee meeting, which took place on the 27th of July 23, set out on page 23 of this agenda.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Pages 23 reflects the extraordinary meeting of the Strategy and Resources Committee, which was exclusively around personnel and personnel changes. So if anybody's got any questions, I'm happy to take them.
So again, assuming you're happy with these minutes are noted. May I please ask Councillor Horseman again, as Deputy Chair, committee meeting, which took place on the 29th of May.
Thank you, Mayor. Please, would the council note the minutes held on the 29th of August. I was going to add, if anyone's got any questions, please come up. I personally think we're trying to sort of stir things up a little bit in this meeting, trying to make things a little bit more relevant. We've been discussing cycling, discussing all sorts of different ways of transport. David has been doing fantastic work along with June on the speed watch within the area. And Matt also, as a committee officer, has been sorting out our equipment, so to speak. And that's really quite some exciting stuff that this is exciting, that will be coming into action very soon. So please, could council accept these minutes?
We have questions. I think Councillor Taylor is first, and then Councillor Baker.
I'm just really a question. At that meeting, we agreed to write to our two local MPs around the issue of e-scooters, and the fact that some MPs told us that there's not a lot they could do about the issue, because there might be some loopholes in legislation. So we agreed we write to the MPs because they're the people who could do something about it. I understand we've heard back from Roger on that. Is that right?
I didn't receive any response.
All right, okay. I'll see where I've seen something, but anything from Mrs. May?
Exactly the same. Except that I haven't seen anything from that rather.
See, I have seen something. I thought it was from here.
Can we chase it up, please? Can we chase it up? I think it is. Sorry. Through the chair, it's an extremely hot topic, not just in scooters, cycling, particularly in the towns and the precinct. So people are getting very close to being in the first place hospitalised, and everybody seems to be totally paralysed in getting anything done. So I think we need to. This proposal needs to be pushing hard, not just on the MPs, but also on the police crime commissioner, the level inspector, because frankly it's not.
Thank you for those comments, June and Keith. Yes, scooters. I was sat in here for 5 hours today, and I had a lovely view out the window, and every 5 minutes the electric scooter went zip, zip, whizzing by. I had taken this up with a local police inspector and various other people. They said there has time by guidelines that they have to warn somebody, issue a letter, and then eventually will take away a scooter or an electric bike. And I pointed out the guidelines of exactly that. The guidelines that have to be followed strictly. Come on, let's see some action. Now, it's not because I said these things, but they did do a bit of a hit in Reading Town Centre recently, and they took away lots of bikes from the delivery people that have been whizzing around with big motors on their bikes that aren't covered under the law. So some action is coming, but I suppose if you're a policeman, in the scale of things, it's pretty small thing. But I am fully aware of people's concerns. In fact, I was cycling around Dinton earlier today, and one of those electric bikes went flying past me at a great speed. So it's well on our radar as a committee. Thank you.
Councillor Rowland.
Thank you, Janet. Please excuse me for not being with you tonight. I have COVID, but I'm actually going to leave the meeting now. I can hardly hear a word that anyone's saying at all. Excuse me, so I'm not going to waste any more of my time. Speech is not clear enough. The microphone system's not good enough. I think we need to do better for the public.
Okay, we understand, and also if you're not feeling too good either.
No, I feel absolutely fine. It's just that I'm still infectious. But if I can't hear, there's no point in me staying.
Okay. Yeah, Kevin's noted that. Okay. Thank you, Beth. So,
So I met with the Police Crime Commissioner last week about other matters, but I did raise that e-scooters were a particular problem in Woodley, and he's said he'd look into that, so I will follow up with him. And I did invite him to come to Woodley, also to talk about retail crime as well as e-scooters.
we are now happy with these minutes. Please ask Councillor Furniture as chairman of the committee to present the minutes of the Russian Services Committee, which took place on the 5th of September 2023. Harold.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Before I sort of open it up for questions, if anyone's got that and obviously want to present it to the council, I just want to highlight one or two pieces from it. I mean, obviously, hopefully people read it, but at Woodford Park, the uptake for the family racket attack, terrible problems for our savings today, was at an all-time high in the level of participation, which is absolutely great. The paddling pool itself was open for a little bit longer, which is good. And also, Woodford Park itself was awarded the green flag for the 6th year in a row. Also, Woodley Town Council will be trialling mixed recycling bins in Woodford Park, and also Woodley Town Council will be writing to local schools about the incidents of antisocial behaviour that we happening. So I want to present a meeting, but if anyone's got any questions, I will try and answer it as best I can.
Do you have any questions? Okay, then these minutes will be noted. Please ask Councillor Baker, chairman of the committee to present minutes of strategy and resources. Committee meeting that took place on the 12th of September. Please on page 63 of the agenda.
Right, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll present the minutes from the Strategy and Resources Committee, which is a more normal meeting, not with a single topic. I would like to highlight a couple of things here. On page 66, item 29, the capital programme, we signed off a additional allocation for general reserve of £140,000 for a significant number of capital projects. Probably one of the highest budgets that we've ever had in a single year, and they range from sort of low budget items to high budget items. I advise, if you haven't looked at them, I advise you to have a look at them. So it's got things like the design line that goes across the field that is now just a muddy bit or whatever. action there. One of my own requests, all the public notice boards are going to be upgraded, replaced as well, together with a lot of other things. So please have a look at that. And if you're interested in any of those projects, please speak any comments through to our Deputy Clerk. Item 30, the free hire of council venues. This is something that comes up periodically. We've had several requests to maybe formalise it, but again, at the meeting, it was decided to continue doing it on a one-off basis, but added certain criteria. You can see that on page 67. And then finally, the youth support service grants. I want to put on record the quality of the guidelines that we have here for the youth organisations here. I think the team and the officers have done an excellent job, and we should be promoting this dramatically all over the place. But I don't want to be sitting here at the next annual meeting saying, you know what, we have a 30,000 budget. We've still got a 30,000 budget. It's there to be used by those organisations. So if any of you have contacts with organisations that are dedicated to the youth, particularly Woodley, please encourage them to fill in the application form and get it into, because I want to see it spent, not frivolously, but spent on the youth. Our youth deserve that investment. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions?
Just one question. I see in 31 the support service grant guideline. You're talking about young people, those aged 21 or under. Is that not too high? Should it not be 18? Majority.
It's definitely it's a difficult one. We had a very vigorous and healthy debate on that precise subject, because I think it was originally 18, and then collectively we came and thought it would be better for 21. It's one of those things that if you did a poll of 100 people, 50 people would want it 18 and 50 people wanted 21. So we've met it 21. If it can always be reviewed by the Legislative Committee after 1 year to see if that was inappropriate. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you.
These things are duly noted. Thank you. Again, I'll tell you all things. Deputy Chairman of the Committee, Minister of the Planning and Community meeting, which took place on the 19th of September. This is on page 79 of the agenda.
Thanks very much, Madam Mayor. Council, please note the minutes, as Jen says, on the 19th of September. Can I draw your attention to a couple of bits actually? First of all, 76, telecommunications notification. The Planning Community Committee spoke about this at the previous meeting to this one and this one. Keith and Anderson, as Borough Councillor, sent out notes to local residents, and a local resident also letterboxed some people in Heavy Road Easter area about this telephone mast. So I think it's important that you let your constituents know that we are fully on board of such developments, and we do represent people's views about such developments, but are very much against them, yeah. And we have made our points made to the council on that. And the other thing I just wanted to highlight was 78, general transportation matters. So some of you may remember I was chairman of the cycling subcommittee for a couple of years, and at a previous planning community meeting I proposed that we close that down, and the reason for me doing that, suggesting that, which is agreed and the council ratified, was because it was just getting lip service. We weren't giving it the attention it needed, and things were rumbling along and nothing much was happening. So we brought this into the planning committee, for clear debate and discussion on such things. And yes, I did ask Carol. Carol's agreed to formulate a strategy, a document, draft, that we can then discuss at the next meeting about counselling, about cycling in the town. So it might seem like waffle and piffle to a lot of people, but a lot of people cycle in the town. I've been out a lot on my bike as well recently, just investigating the area, seeing what's wrong and what's right. So we are looking into it. And really, it's not onerous. We're not spending a huge amount of committee time on this. It might sound we are, but we're not. It's just mere minutes that we're talking about. Shall Carol wants to say something?
Question 4.
Isn't that said, I can, yeah, I think the last thing that Rob said about not spending a lot of committee time probably says it all. There's already a cycling strategy. It's a one-liner, which I wrote some time ago. I have added another sentence just to keep everybody happy, but I have no hope that anything else will be done, because as I've said time and again, it's got to be led, it's got to be discussed, and it's got to be talked over by people actually interested in cycling, in a cycling strategy, and actually achieving something for the cyclists to make it safer for them in Woodley. So I've done as asked, but don't expect anything to change.
I am just putting these minutes across. I don't want to get into a great debate and disagree with you, Carol. What I was referring to is it's not onerous on committee members that we do discuss cycling, and the leadership of it is taken by the committee as a whole, and that is why I've asked you, as you are so passionate and such a leading cyclist in Woodley, that you take it on board. You have agreed to do so. I look forward to seeing what you've come up with, and I hope that we can have a little more positivity going forward and not so much negativity on this subject. It just seems that we are chewing over the same thing. I apologise if I might have been a little outspoken then, but that is how I am feeling. So can I ask the council, please, to note the minutes of the planning community meeting of the 19th of September.
More questions for the Deputy Chair? We are happy with these. We will make this steps. This is for councillors to note a number of privacy notices and policy documents which have either recently been updated or newly created. It also states that from 1st of January 2024, in line with the new data protection policy, all communication between council staff and councillors will be via the Woodley email system. The councillors should not forward or send any emails received which might contain personal or confidential data onto a non-council email address. Having spoken to officers, I understand that the purpose of this is to ensure that personal and or confidential data transferred between staff and councillors takes place on the council hosted email system to improve the security of the data. So do any councillors have questions or comments about this updated policy or documents? We have, I think, Councillor Gill was first.
I've been using my personal email UK email, which I find quite clunky and sometimes doesn't work. And the other thing, I just wonder about the security of that email address or the server, because when you go onto it, it will say this is not safe, and the usual. So something's not happening. There's some document or agreement that that email, that service has not followed the protocol. So I'm not absolutely certain that it's being my email, that the email system is being. I wonder if that could be looked at.
Yeah, it can, and that was one of the issues we had when we started using it. It actually wasn't an issue with security, but it was an issue with the way that different browsers and things actually saw it. The system, the server itself is secure. It's gone through with our IT provider. We went through actually it was a government pilot scheme to enhance some local government security. It's still happening. That shouldn't be there, because I don't think it's the same for everybody. So we'll have a look at that, Carol, on a case by case basis, because I know different people will do consistent with different devices. Everyone can try and see what that looks like for them and to address that, so we'll make sure that's slightly
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is related to the comment that you should not forward, right, any emails to your personal email. Just for your information, working Borough Council do not have that draconian issue. And I will give you an example where I think it is an overkill. It's not to do with officers communicating with councillors and councillors back to officers, but it's residents communicating to a councillor. So if a resident sends me an email using my woodleytown.gov.uk email address, you're then dictating that I have to have the whole conversation, which could go on for weeks, based around that server. Whereas in the Borough Council, what would happen is I would then forward it. That then means I take on the responsibility from a data protection perspective on a personal basis. But it allows me the flexibility to have extensive conversations in my own private email account. Bearing in mind, some of these residents may well not want to use a .gov.uk because they might think, who's going to be using it? Who's got access to it? Whereas my own personal one is mine and mine alone. So I would ask you for that scenario just to revisit that draconian. And certainly for me and a lot of our borough councillors, we are actually data controllers in our own right. In other words, we subscribe to the ICO just like the town council as an organisation does. And when you subscribe to that, you adopt all the same security constraints, etc., that we've got in town council. So I'm quite happy to do the forwarding because I've got that backup. So could you think it again just for that scenario?
Yeah, if I can just provide a bit of context for it. Obviously, there's guidance about what should be done, and in an ideal world, the best way to do it, and that's what the guidance says is that in an ideal world, that's what would happen. That nothing would get forwarded. In reality, obviously, members may want to do what they want to do, and in terms of what we can do as officers from the council, it's just information that is sent out from here in the best way that we can. So by putting that in place, at least we've done in that sense what members may choose to do is beyond our control. That's the guidance. I think one of the things there is the fact that the sector it's actually freedom of information requests, for example, could then be made, which would relate to information that's in councillors' personal email accounts, which can cause a difficulty, and that's where that advice comes from. So we're trying to tidy up where we can this end. Likelihood is it would never be a problem. If there was, at least we know that we're controlling the information coming out from the council in that way.
Yeah, I don't want to prolong this break, Madam Mayor, but as a new councillor, I took it upon myself to only use the woodley.gov.uk email address. And I find that works perfectly. I've got it on my tablet, I've got it on my laptop. It separates my personal email, volumes of it, from my work email, my Woodley Town Council business email address. And the other thing is, as a member of the Personnel Subcommittee, the chair circulated a request, but used my personal email address. And of course, I didn't read that. I was using my office, woodley.gov.uk email address. I missed the instruction from her, and I just simply would urge all councillors to try and use, the woodley.gov.uk email address at all times. And as the clerk has said, in terms of GDPR, we must comply.
Thank you. I would confirm what Councillor Kennedy has just said. I've used the Woodley email address since we first started it, and apart from one occasion, I've never had any problem with it at all. And Carol, the comment you made about it coming up as suspicious site, I don't know what's happened with yours. Maybe you need to adjust settings in your own computer, because I've never had it come up as a suspicious site. But by and by, other than that, one question. I've done 4 years for this council as trustee of the CAB in Wokingham. GDPR is very, very important, and it's very easy to make an error in breach of the regulations. I've done it myself once without thinking, failing to send blind copy emails. And it wasn't until one person came back to me that I realised, which I did report at the time, and we cleared it up. But it's very, very easy. One thing with the CAB, there is an online examination or test that everyone has to do, and they have to repeat it annually. If we're going to be proper on the GDPR, then I think we need to come up with an online examination that each of us must take and pass, and then renew every year.
Yeah, if I can just add, we do have an online module, which is kind of a fairly basic one about GDPR awareness, but actually that is available for all councillors, but you don't know that because I haven't told you. I will send that out for everybody again, and it's like a 20-minute video session with a questionnaire at the end. And we start with councillors. But that's there may also be some things I'll have a look through council specific trainings.
But each and every one of us here represent the council. Each and every one of us here will be responsible if we are in breach. So each and every one of us here should do that test.
My question is how Mr. Mike said we can use the woodley.gov.uk, the email. But other hand, whenever it's a meeting or any issues, any emails, always I'm receiving on my personal email as well, which I have given to the local Woodley Council for any information or any anything is whenever is any issue. So you mean what this means? It means we from onwards in the future. It means we can't use. I will not receive any email on personal email. So it means if I will receive only on my government emails.
So yeah, so that will come into effect from January. So we've got time to make sure that everybody's Woodley email address is up and running and they're happy with how it works. So it's not an instant thing. But,
so it means there will be no more communication which I have given my personal email.
So we will communicate. We'll make sure internally every email we send out goes to the woodley.gov.uk email address we have for you.
Thank you, Mayor. I've started this discussion, this debate. I was agreeing with Keith very much. So all my emails come through on my phone, because I'm a very busy person, and Matt knows that he gets an email from me from what could be any email address I might send it from. So will the woodley.gov, can I make that come through on that same email list? So it pings up and I can reply straight away at that point in time. If I can do that, then I'm happy to go along with this. If not, I think it could slow down communications and we might miss something, might miss something important, not reply to it.
You should be able to access the email on any device that has an email.
But without having to go on and type something in and sign it off, because I've got quite a few email, Hotmail, Gmail,
I have that
on the same list.
I have my iPhone, it should work exactly the same on Android phones as well, and Windows phones, so yeah, you should be able to set it up so that it just comes through on your list. How you separate it on your own phones is then up to you, but yeah, absolutely should work. My aim is, I have a list of everyone who doesn't currently communicate with us. Where I know that nobody uses it, we are resetting passwords now, so we have to reset passwords. I'll be emailing everyone individually on the emails that I normally correspond with details of how you can log on and on different devices. And then anyone who struggles with that, please contact me and we'll arrange a time for me to either come to you or you can come to me and I'll make sure that we can get it working for you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to take up that offer for sure.
Can I just ask, we have a soft launch? But for technophobes like me, we actually don't go live in January, we go live on the 1st of November
Holding our
and
hands.
do both.
The aim is to make sure in the next month or so that everyone is working and everything's fine. I'll be sending information out then on both, but I'll be checking with everyone that you are all receiving it absolutely fine. And we'll do everything we can to make sure that by the 1st of January, by the point we actually just turn that off, you are all receiving it, you are all happy, you are all getting that. We'll do every step to make sure that you do that. I wouldn't want to bring it in if any of you are sat there going, we can't, I'm not getting it. So that's why we give ourselves a 3-month lead in, to make sure that gives us all time to just make sure you're all happy.
I'm happy.
I'm happy, I will be. Anybody else? So moving on to item 6A. This is to receive the external auditor's opinion on the audit of the annual governance and accountability return for 2022-23. This is set out at Appendix 6A on page 121 of the agenda. So, Kevin, can you set this out?
Yeah, thank you. So page 121 to 123 are sections 1, 2 and 3 of the annual governance accountability statement. Those are the bits you've seen before on section 1, which were sent off back in back in June. The bit that you were asked here to receive is the page 123, so in section 3, box 2, external auditors. It's a bit of a one-liner, which is what we want. The line says everything's okay. And the box below that, which is other matters not affecting the opinion, but to draw attention to, just refers to the recommendations that were made in the internal audit report, which was we've been working through. We've knocked a lot of those off already, haven't we, Ash? And a few of those still to do. And we've got a date for our internal auditor coming back in again in November. And that's working very well with the new auditor we appointed for this year. That was our first cycle with the new auditor. So that's working very well.
Any questions on this before we go to vote?
The public notice on page 124 that refers to a copy will be provided to any person for 60p per copy. I assume we will email it to people for free.
Absolutely.
Yes, very 20th century. And perhaps this notice has gone on the notice boards, has it?
Yes. So
perhaps it could have said, or you know, if you email Woodley Town Council, you can be emailed a copy, because it makes it sound like it's only available if you pay 60p and come and have your photocopy.
yes, it's a template, but you're absolutely right. We could add that to it. So yeah.
Thank you.
So, any more questions? Can we move to a vote on receiving the external auditor's opinion on the audit? All those in favour, please raise their hands. Team 4. Although I'll just go through it. All those against, please raise their hands.
None.
And all those who wish to abstain, please raise their hands. So the external auditor's opinion has duly been received. So following on from that, item 6B is therefore to formally adopt the audited annual governance and accountability return 2022-2023. So having discussed that, I intend to proceed straight to the vote. So can all those in favour, please raise their hands.
Sorry, Chairman, should we not have a proposal and a seconder? I'm happy if not, but I'm just.
We haven't, and
Okay, I'm fine. Carry on.
Okay. All those in favour, please raise their hands.
That is 18.
And all those against, please raise their hands.
None.
And all those who wish to abstain, please raise their hands. That is audited annual governance and accountability return for 2022-23 is formally adopted. Item 6C is simply to note that the notice of conclusion of audit was displayed on public notice boards at the Oakwood Centre and on the council's website on 21st of September 23. So a copy of this is provided in Appendix 6C, which is on page 124 of the agenda. Item 7. The next item on the agenda is to receive a statement from the leader of the council, Councillor Baker. Would you like to provide a statement to the members?
I'm going to be very, very brief, so we're going to have an early meeting. The only thing I'd like to bring to everyone's attention is just a gentle reminder that if any councillor cannot make a meeting, please let Matthew or the officers know. Today has been really brilliant. What, 6 notifications? For a few of our standing committees, there have been 2 or 3 people, of all parties, by the way, of all parties, who have just not turned up. And that is not fair on officers, it's not fair on our residents. So please, please let them know if you can't make it.
Today is to consider a request from Woodley Bowling Club for the placement of advertising signage at the Bowls Club. The request is provided at Appendix 8 on page 125 of the agenda. So again,
yes, thank you very much. So under the terms of the lease with the bowling club, there's a clause in there which you see under agenda item 8, which is essentially that if they want to put any type of advertising boards, they need permission from council to do so. They've talked about it for a little while and made some inquiries about it, and I did receive this email from Stephen Tree, the treasurer, asking for this. There's 4 items there which are display of some in-facing signs within the club, so all facing into the green. A limited amount of signs and banners again within the confines of the clubhouse. A display board banner on the outside, but literally saying bowling club, you actually know it's there. And a temporary banner to advertise when they've got their club event, such as their open day. So they're all very straightforward things, but within the lease the council approves such a request.
thank you. Does anybody have any questions about this request?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Personally, I support this. I think it's not, they're not asking for anything that appears to be overboard. It's all internal. Anything that improves the sustainability of Woodley Club, absolutely, I think we need to be going. Also, got our facing severe severe constraints financially, users, etc. And I would not like Woodley Town Council to be the source of blocking any improvement with the a very, very good offer. So I fully support it, and I hope my colleagues will as well.
I'm just going to a little thing. Anything that's external, I was wondering whether it was worth running it by Anuska and whether she's got a view on sort of branding or how she wants that to look. So, you know, we've got a PR and comm specialist.
We could offer some assistance, yes. I'll throw that into the mix.
Other comments? So assuming that's all the comments and questions, let's please move to a vote. Can all those in favour, please raise their hands.
That's 18.
All those against, please raise their hands. None. All those who wish to abstain, please raise their hands. So in that case, then that's been approved. Item 9 is to receive a written report from Town Council representatives on outside bodies. These are provided in a new report format for this meeting in the separate appendix enclosed with the agenda. So do we have any queries or questions
Could I
regarding this?
very briefly just explain? So yes, we were requested to come up with a pro forma for councillors who are outside body representatives to fill in. In the past, we've had paragraphs sent to us separately when they've been available from councillors, and we've generally not listed who's on different outside bodies and which councillors we have or haven't received reports from. What this does is it enables councillors to explain if there's no report, why that may be no report, if they haven't attended meetings, why they haven't, and where they have, to provide feedback on a kind of a standard form for everyone. Just to let everyone know that when I sent this request out a couple of weeks ago, I did omit 2 councillors, unfortunately, from my email asking for reports. That was Councillor Kennedy and Councillor Guttridge. I've emailed them both on Monday, apologising for that and sending the pro forma. Subsequently, we got reports from Councillor Kennedy that is on everyone's desk as a separate appendix, and we've also received a report from Councillor Bragg, which is as part of that as well.
I was just interested in Mike's report and the Woking Borough Council Parish Liaison Board, who asked a lot of interesting questions. I would quite like to hear a bit more detail about what they said back. But the thing that I was really concerned about is that Mike was reporting that the leader of Woking Borough Council said that the additional income raised from car parking would be applied towards children and adult social care. Now, in planning and community, I can see about 3 meetings, we actually discussed this and what they were to do if there was a surplus, and wrote to the Borough Council asking them to confirm that they weren't going to spend any of that money beyond what's allowed in the legislation, and we have assurance that they weren't going to do that. And my recollection of it is that spending it on things like children and adult social care, which we're not going to argue about, that is a good thing, but that is not permitted. And so you had that letter back. So I'm a bit confused now. Have they changed their mind? Is this an error? It doesn't tally with the reply that we got back.
I think I can answer. As a borough councillor, I've heard that same statement from the leader and the deputy leader and quite a few senior administration councillors. What, in one way, they are not totally inaccurate. What they are actually saying, but they don't say, is they're saying that is ring fenced for highways, which is exactly how it is, all right? If there isn't sufficient money for those projects, because it funds projects, within the highways arena, money will have to come from somewhere else to subsidise that, all right? Okay, so they will say that our general pool we have to take money out of here. Instead of what I would personally do is say, well, hang on a minute, can we delay the project or should we cancel it or whatever? If you take out the general pool to top up the highways, you don't have it, then you can spend it on anywhere else. And they use as an example that so children's services might want to draw from that pool, but it's not as big as it used to be, and so therefore potentially children's services or adult social services are penalised. They just miss out. They just go from, you know, that whole section in the middle. The reality of the situation is for things like children's services, whatever money is needed will be found. Same with adult social care. Those are the two big ones that are so important to all the residents of Woking Borough. So, you know, they will find money, but it's just a way of communicating, you know, missing out sometimes.
Should ask them to be more clear. We just suggest that we are not adhering to the law. And I know it's tiresome having to explain the detail of it to people, but it's wrong to say it's inaccurate and it's sloppy and
in the words of the leader, another catastrophic error.
I have to say, we should be looking at the shops in Woodley. They are really reeling with the effect of these car park charges. The shops are losing money. The people like the nurses at the hospital, the doctors, are paying £1,000 a month in car parking charges just to go to work. That doesn't include the volunteers of the charity shops, all the other shop workers. They're all having to pay an extreme amount of money. And I think we should know that Woodley is the cash cow of Wokingham when it comes to car parking, because we're the only town that hasn't got any free, 6 free car parking spaces outside of Woodley, not in the town centre. And so I think we should all be aware that this is hitting the shops and the businesses in Woodley badly.
I appreciate that. I'm sure it's up for discussion at Wokingham.
No, I don't care.
So moving on. If there are any more comments about the last item, to item 10. This is an update on the Mayor and Deputy Mayor's engagement since the last meeting. The events which have taken place are set out on Appendix 10 on page 126 of the agenda. Visits. Item 12, future agenda items. Does anybody have any items they wish to be included in a future agenda? Harold?
Comment tonight from Beth about the poor sound quality. It's not the first time. This has been a problem for a couple of years now. It certainly started since COVID, when we've been doing the online Zoom recordings. It's about time, as a council, we provided a sound system that worked, so that people could listen in, because we're actually broadcasting something that cannot be heard unless somebody's very good at lip reading. I'd like it to be on the agenda, whether it's on this full council, but maybe it should be on this next SNR, to consider what could be provided. By then maybe the officers could look at the cost of that sort of system. But we really must do something, because we're all coming here, sitting here, we're talking, and some really important things are being said, and the residents, some attend, but those that can't, or for whatever reason don't attend, they can't hear. So we do need to look at it.
Yes.
Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Given the discussions and references that were made earlier, we've been picking up in our council of the increase in antisocial behaviour in Woodley and the general concern. I'd like to suggest that we have a future agenda item on antisocial behaviour, so we can have updates from the relevant people who are working on this and liaising with outside bodies.
Go to any particular committee?
Yes, historically it's been reported through to leisure just because the areas that are affected tended to be under leisure. So it's historically in the parks and so we could certainly bring that through there. Is there any other specific actions that full council would like to?
Yeah, I just, well, after Keith.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Children.
Actually, we've done that sort of thing before, like we've had the police commissioner here, we've had the inspector of the police here. I wonder if the time is right now to do something far more radical and for the town council to organise a public meeting with all the principal players. I'm not sure whether this building is going to be large enough to hold all the residents. So maybe rather than doing it piecemeal, and frankly, I have little confidence in actually getting anywhere. Let's get the BCC, the ASB, Antisocial Behaviour Group from Wokingham, etc., in this building and make it an open public meeting so that they hear from the people who are being affected most, not us, but the people out there. That would be my suggestion.
Just Linda was first, and then back to you, June. You had your hand up earlier.
Yeah. Forgive me if this isn't the right place to ask it, but can we look at the provision of bottle banks in the area? Because between last Friday and today, my partner and I visited bottle bank every single day, and they're all overflowing. They're not been picked up. You can't get a single bottle in them.
Okay, that's would that be under leisure services? Is it Wokingham that responsible for everything?
Yes, it's Wokingham Borough Council. It's also something that is part of the consultation on the bins and grass cutting and everything. There is a bottle bank service.
Okay, but you know, there's no clues about where to deposit them if you can't get them. Okay, so I've been riding around with a big bag of bottles for a fortnight now.
Okay, I can forward that as a concern.
I'd like to know if they need to be
Jean.
Just like to support what Keith has been saying. I think the thing that, you know, when we've been discussing it as a group is the fact that we have bits of antisocial behaviour popping up in different committees, and we just feel that it'd be worthwhile to pull that all together. And certainly, I mean, we're still, you know, trundling along with the youth provision thing. We haven't done. Is there a connection between them and this stuff? I think there probably is, and I think we need to do kind of sort of you know, going out and asking people, how is this manifesting itself and affecting you? I think there's also a lot of expertise out in Woodley about organising like successful youth clubs and so forth and so forth. And also, I mean, I don't know whether schools would be open to this, but actually us going into schools and having these conversations with kids, really, because I mean, my grandchildren are too small to be an issue, and I certainly, you know, have got no kind of experience really about what issues there are for teenagers out there, and I guess we're really talking about teenagers. So I think I think we need to do something significant rather than trying to bite at it in little chunks.
So I will completely support you, Keith. I think it's a really good idea having an open meeting, but to what end? So I think having an open meeting and being heard is really important, but I think then there is something about, and where do we go from that? So let's start with the intention of doing a bit of co-design. You know, this has to be co-design. This can't be a bunch of us sitting in a room telling people the right thing to do. Let's then try and get a group of people together to start to co-design something, even if that's an awareness campaign or some action, whatever it is. That's not for us to determine, I don't think. I think that's for us to support a co-design process. So I completely agree with Keith, but I think we need to, when we publicise this, the end point will be.
So it's just a process.
But I think, you know, often listening meetings are seen as a bit of a, people will come because they're cross and they have something to say, but it's then so what and the action, isn't it? So I think if we go into it with intention that we will do something about this and we will carry this forward, whatever it is, then I think that's the right way to do it. I think, you know, we're not telling people the way they're helping them
Work over, choose out and work together. June?
Yeah, and just to add to that, you will get some people who will come. I think we also need to go. And we need to go to places where, and you know, I think particularly talking to young people, because I don't know people not you know, here to listen to their older chat about stuff. I think so we need to work out ways of how we get closer to young people.
Just chip something. I think you're absolutely right. I think that's where the that working party that's been set up under leisure services will come in terms of what the council's approach will be going forwards in engaging with a services provider who will be geared up to do that. I know, I think just around the corner to do something similar as part of their activity. That's definitely something.
Sorry, let's not forget that when we're talking about antisocial behaviour, it's not just the young kids that are doing this. There are many adults in Woodley who are also heavily involved in, you know, this type of behaviour. It's not everyone. I fully endorse what Keith said. I think it's a very good idea to have a meeting. I don't know if this room wouldn't be big enough, I know, for the angry population. But let's get something organised as quickly as possible. At least, if nothing else, the authorities, the police, the Wokingham Borough, etc., will know how strong the feeling is here in Woodley. And we might then have some success.
And address them.
Only I want to add one, June. The thing is, do we have any plan or already planned that we approach to local schools and we ask anything for the schools, if anybody or anything?
Yes, let's not say that it is, yeah, but I think we need to be really careful. You know, I've been an educationist a long time, and actually a bunch of us going into schools is not going to achieve anything. This needs to be done through youth groups, this needs to be done through existing relationships that are around. We've got them, we just need to utilise them. And my hope is that this working party would do that. I agree with you. I don't think it's one thing that's going to fix this. I really genuinely am quite surprised that there is this level of, I haven't seen a vast amount of antisocial behaviour apart from the bikes in the precinct. I don't know what's changed. So it would be really good for me to understand what's changed and what's shifted that. You know, let's try and get underneath, I agree with you, let's try and get underneath the skin of it. And, you know, that might well be from schools, but I think if we invite some teachers to that event, then they're probably going to have a view. But I think if we're going to try and get to youth, that's not us rocking up at assemblies. That ain't going to do anything apart from, you know, make us a laughing stock. We need to do that through existing groups.
Thank you, Emma. A few ideas this evening. I think Greg's idea is fantastic. I think Keith's idea is fantastic. However, there's 4 people watching this meeting. One of them was me, one of them was my son. So the engagement of Woodley as a community isn't that great. at the moment.
Can't hear us.
Because they can't hear us. So just as an idea to throw in there, why don't we just put on for the next meeting an agenda item to discuss, great idea, to discuss, perhaps paraphrase it as the best way forward to engage, to discuss antisocial behaviour. So as a council, we've put it out there publicly, with my arms around, sorry, we put it out there publicly, we're going to discuss this, and seeing that we get no interest, which is probably going to happen, we can then decide as a group the best way forward, whether we put effort into it, as Keith's idea, and hold it outside in the park or somewhere. But if we put it out there as an agenda item, put it on social medias, put it on the notice boards, we're going to discuss this, mention it to our constituents, etc. We've got 6 weeks to the next meeting. We can then see what interest that actually is, rather than us trying to run forward. Good.
I'd like to point out that actually we do have a youth group which has been going for years and years, but this sort of thing is discussed. We have youth workers who are going into schools and they are all trying. It's not that nobody is doing anything. We do have quite a good community of youth workers, mainly connected with the churches and things like that. They are all working their butts off, trying to, well, connecting with the youth, and they are involved in the schools already. They don't need any of us going into schools. The people that are there are learning and doing their best to sort this out. It's not, it's not that nobody's trying. We all are. So, we will be, this will be better in the future. Let's put it that way. There is a lot of people working for this.
I'm agree with our respected. The thing is, my question is not the one. She used the word, we do not need to go to the schools. The thing is, because even if we see the local in the town or in the city, when the bullying is starting, actually we need to find out the base. Sometimes there are a lot of examples in the schools when it's coming from the schools, colleges and universities. So that's why my only request to is better. This is the better way if we can get the better report as well. So at least we can find out where we are when it's coming for the bullying and these all our questions.
I think the point was that what you're saying is that we're already going into schools, not that we don't need to go into schools.
We are already
So I think
going
the
into
point was
schools.
that this is already ongoing. Right, I think
I wondered if it might be useful for members if we invited someone from the Borough Council's anti-social behaviour team in to talk to us about the reports they receive in Woodley, the action that they're able to take, what's within their scope and isn't. I know in the past we have invited borough officers in, perhaps when we talked about emergency planning, we had someone in to explain what they do, so it informed us more. Would that be something we could put on the agenda?
That would be, that would be a good evening, wouldn't it? I think that would encompass quite a few points.
that could be the start.
They are quite decent chaps. I've spoken to them a few times about stuff.
So is that motion for
That way forward.
Let's start with that. Okay, everybody's very passionate about that, so it's going to happen. That was actually item 11, item 12, we're now on item 12, publicity and website. Does anybody have any items that they wish to be publicised, which could follow on from what I've just been
Just could I ask our Deputy Town Clerk, just give an update on what the communications have gone out yet for the youth grants?
Yes. So I'll have to double check, but there should be a push release this one now, and we also had a community youth partnership meeting last week, and spoke to partners on there, so they're all aware of it and have got that information as well. They're really well placed in terms of not just their own groups, but that sort of network of groups and news providers in Woodley to get that message out. So that's out and live, and we are ready to accept those applications.
I'll just follow up on that. So the information is on the website now. There's a post about it on the website. We're just collating this week lists of organisations that work with youth that we are aware of, have received grants in the past, as well as all the schools. We want to write to them all to inform them about it as well, and ask them to make sure that they can pass that on to people who they know might be interested as well, as another way of trying to get that information out to as many people as possible.
Okay, can I just follow up? There's nothing on social media. At least 3 of the 4 Woodley-based social Facebook pages, nothing. A press release has gone out. I know it was in the working because Mishka asked me for a quote, but I think as a matter of course, all councillors should be copied on any press releases that go out at the time of going out, because I haven't seen the final one. Any of you who have seen it, and we need to be aware of that, because we've got 18 here, you've got 18 evangelists that could go out there and help, but if they haven't got the information. But I am disappointed that there's been nothing on social media. The 3 wouldn't check anywhere else, but there are 4 Woodley Facebook groups, one of which I'm not active on, and it's not on the other 3. You know, and that should be just like a teaser. Please.
There was just something I just want to clarify this for me. I mentioned lots of good stuff that was happening under the leisure services. I presume that will be publicised. I was thinking with regard to the green flag, the racket attack, there's obviously a little bit about youth as well, rising to the schools. Would that be included automatically?
A lot of them will be, certainly things like green flag. I will have double check through.
Yes.
So the next item on the agenda is a confidential item relating to a personnel matter. As such, I propose that in line with Standing Order 12.2, the confidential business about to be transacted in. I'll carry on anyway.
Carry on.
Yes, yeah. In view of the confidential nature of the business about to be transacted in relation to personnel matters, it's advisable in the public interest that the public and press are temporarily excluded, and they are asked to withdraw for the final item on the agenda. Can I please have a seconder for that proposal? Thank you. And then we will move to a vote. Can all those in favour please raise their hands?
18 for.
All those against or who wish, please raise their hands. And all those who wish to abstain, please raise their hands.
Nobody.